Hello, welcome everybody. This is the September 2025 monthly meeting for the Friends of the CFD Movement Action Team in CCL. We're a sub-team of the Higher Ed Action Team. And what we do in CCL is we work to help connect students and schools in our CCL volunteers' lives with the CFD movement, which is a student-led organization that works with a laser focus on creating political will for carbon fee and dividend legislation by hanging up posters and using stickers on their water bottles and laptop covers, and then planning events like chalk art and pizza parties, meeting with the university to get an endorsement for carbon fee and dividend, and having teach-ins where they have an economist or one of them even can explain the carbon fee and dividend policy, show a little En-ROADS demo to show the power of it, um, and show people how they can write Congress to help support it. And so this is only half of solving climate change, but it's an important policy, a powerful policy, and Congress won't do it until we create the political will to enable them to do it. So the CFD movement provides the project that can fit into a school club at the high school or college level and help spread the word and build support for the policy that way. Um, yeah, so I will see if I can
I have
figure out
a
how to
question.
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Could you define what the carbon fee and dividend necessarily is?
Certainly. Hey, would anybody else like to do a quick laser talk for Siri?
So um, that that the the current state is that fossil fuels, you can burn them, and it's fairly inexpensive to burn them, but there's a cost that young people in the future are going to pay, and it's a very, very high cost. Um, so, um, but because it's free for the people who are using fossil fuels today to dump their fossil fuel emissions into the atmosphere, they don't have an incentive to convert to using forms of energy that we have today that don't produce emissions into the atmosphere. And so the carbon fee and dividend, under a carbon fee and dividend, the first part is that the government would create a fee that would start very small, that fossil fuel companies would pay for each ton of carbon dioxide that they would that their products will put into the atmosphere. That it would start small, like just a few cents a gallon on gasoline, um, a few cents on your electric bill, but each year it would go up so that um, if you're looking to invest in something that's going to last a long time, you would say, oh, the price of driving that is going to start including the cost of my emissions, and it's actually going to be more expensive than um, um, other options for for power that don't generate emissions. Um, that creates the incentive to transition. Then the second part of the carbon fee and dividend is the dividend. And under the bill that CCL has been backing for quite a few years, um, that all the money that the government collects from the fossil fuel companies would go into a fund that is divided equally to among all legal residents of the country, and it would be sent to them like on a monthly or quarterly basis, they would get a carbon check. And that way, because when we do put a price on carbon, like the price of gasoline is going to go up, and we don't like that. I like it when it's cheap when I buy gas, but and lower income people would be hurt even more by that. But if we gather up, if we distribute all the money collected equally to every citizen, it turns out that about 2/3 of the people will come out ahead, because lower income people have a much smaller carbon footprint than higher income people, and by that, so about for them coming out ahead, it means that they would actually get more back in the dividend than they would pay in increased energy costs because of the carbon price. So that's carbon fee and dividend. And there's lots and lots of details of the policy that are all very interesting.
Yeah, one sentence definition I use is a carbon fee and dividend means charging a fee on fossil fuels similar to a carbon tax, and then returning all the revenue to everybody as equal dividends, similar to a universal basic income.
Yeah. And you can also say it shouldn't be free to pollute. And if we give the money back, most people come out ahead financially. Thanks, Stephen and Keith. Let me, oh, actually, Siri, do you have any questions based on what you just heard, I guess, first of all?
No, that was a really good explanation. Thank you all.
Excellent. And I'll just share my screen for a moment to show you resources that what happened? Okay, that's not the resource I wanted to share, but see if I can. That's the box. Okay, cfdmovement.org is the CFD Movement's website. And if you go to the resources menu item and look at tabling supplies, that might be the easiest place to find resources. That these are good to share with other people, but they're actually kind of good for reading, just to do some background learning about the policy. Let's see, we have Carbon Fee and Dividend one pager here. This is what CCL calls the laser talk or elevator pitch. And they have these for various topics. But this describes a fee is placed on fossil fuels at the source, at the well, mine, or port of entry. All the money collected minus administration costs is returned to American households on an equal basis.
John, was there a graphic that you were putting up on that, or
Are you not?
we're
Are you
seeing
not?
the picture of the group?
Are you not seeing the laser talk?
No, we're seeing it says we're students advocating for the most effective climate policy.
Okay, sorry. All right. Do you see me highlighting
Yes.
tabling supplies now?
Yes.
I was in the wrong window. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, so if we pick tabling supplies from the resources menu and then come down to carbon fee and dividend one pager. This is what I thought you were seeing. I was seeing it in a different window. Sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah, so it's the three-part policy. We've just told you about the first two parts. A fee is placed on fossil fuels at the source, well, mine, or port of entry. All the money collected minus administration costs is returned to American households on an equal basis, and it's monthly. And then the third part is a border adjustment. So we charge our carbon price on imports from free polluting countries so that imports play on a level playing field along with US produced goods in our own economy. And we also rebate exporters so that our US exports play on a level playing field in other economies. So The fee is how we reduce emissions in the most powerful, cost-effective way. The dividend protects households, and in fact, most people, families come out ahead with more money at the end of each month than they have now because they're getting more money back than the total trickle down higher prices that they're spending. And then the border adjustment protects U.S. businesses. In fact, it makes U.S. businesses, producers, more competitive because we're a clean producer compared to most of the rest of the world. So goods imported into the U.S. end up paying a little more than US produced goods for this carbon fee. So it makes US goods more competitive in the US market, and it strongly encourages the rest of the world to price carbon as we need them to for our climate safety. So that's the elevator pitch or the laser talk or the one pager. Um, and there's there's two other nice things. The Economist statement is the largest public statement by economists about anything ever. And it just says this approach of a carbon fee and dividend with a border adjustment uh, is recommended by economists. It's signed by over 3,500 of them. Um, and the original co-signers are some of the leading economists of our day from across the political spectrum. And then if you go to the actual website, you can see all the economists. So you can look for the economists at a college that you're interested in or your state. Okay, so that's a nice resource. If people are wondering why you would be interested in carbon fee and dividend, you can just say it's the most well-supported policy by economists ever. Um, and then I won't get into all of these, but this one shows an En-ROADS model showing that carbon fee and dividend extended through 2100 and pushed around the world with a CBAM is about half the solution to global warming, according to the MIT and Climate Interactive Policy Simulator. But this is what I wanted to show you. The household impact study shows the progressive result of returning all the money back to households. And there's a nice two-page summary that describes uh, the, the full report. But I kind of like just looking at figure one. I use this tabling today. People tend to wonder what's going to happen in their situation with carbon fee and dividend. And this just shows the household impacts on the first year. So with a $15 per ton of CO2 fee, um, and it's divided US households up into quintiles or 20% buckets based on consumption, which is a good proxy for household income. So quintile one is the low income households of the US, quintile five is the high income households of the US, and the middle is the middle income households. The green is the money, the total that they get back the first year, the total of their monthly cashback dividends. And it's taxed. So a high income household gets less spending money, but everybody gets the same amount rebated back to them. The dark blue is the increase in direct energy costs. So for gasoline and heating oil, electricity, and the light blue is the indirect costs for tomatoes that are flown from Chile and the things that we buy that have a carbon footprint that we just don't see. Uh, and so this is basically showing 2/3 of all families break even or come out ahead. And it's especially helpful to the low income households. They come out the furthest ahead because they have the smallest carbon footprints. And this is simply costs that people are incurring because of the trickle down higher prices from the carbon fee paid by the fossil fuel producers. Okay, so that's just from the CFD Movement website, table and resources, and there's some other articles that you might be interested in too. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I posted a link on the chat from Kathy Orlando and Citizens Climate Law, our national manager, produced a cartoon explanation of carbon fee and dividend that I really
Oh,
like.
great. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'll have to check that out.
I forget who her audience was, but she
Let me see if
Now
I can
uses
find
it for
that on my-
politicians and whoever else she can, yeah.
Yeah. Siri, are you familiar with how carbon pricing works in general?
No, could you explain that to me?
I have a 2-minute video that I like to show. Can I show that instead of explaining it to you? Does anybody mind a 2-minute video?
Yeah, of course.
No, that sounds like about the right length. Oh,
Okay.
I do
All
want
right.
if I can return.
Uh, let me see if I can. Okay, so the easiest way to find that. Okay.
I think if you go to CCLUSA.org.
I think this might be a different one than you're thinking about. This one is my personal favorite. CCL has a great 2-minute intro video. I'll give you a link to that one, but this is carbon pricing explained with chickens. And watch on YouTube, video player connection error. Really? Why would that be? Can you hear that?
don't hear anything. No.
No.
Can you see a chicken?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you hear that?
No.
Okay.
A lot of times that's a big challenge on Zoom meetings.
Well, they make you check. Okay, share sound. It's not the default. Optimize for video. Okay. Show Zoom windows. What does that mean? No, I don't want to do that. Okay. Now I need to find my presenter layout, text edit, Google Chrome. Here we go. Okay, do you see a chicken?
Yes.
I think this will work. Can you hear it now?
She's like most chickens her age.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, good. Okay. So let me just start it back at the beginning.
This is Sally. She's like most chickens her age. She'll grow up in a place like this. And that means Sally's hiding something. A carbon footprint. Sally's farm uses electricity from a coal-fired power plant. Her farmer drives a diesel pickup, and her feed comes from a factory that consumes its own electricity and fuel. Now, meet Colin. Colin was raised on a solar-powered farm, eating locally sourced feed. Today, raising Colin is more expensive than raising Sally, because carbon-free energy is currently more expensive than fossil fuels. But someday soon, Sally's carbon footprint could tip the scales. Why? If we want to keep a livable climate, we have to put way less carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. You've got two basic options. You could make a law that limits how much fossil fuels a person or company can burn, and penalize them if they break the law. Sort of like a speeding ticket. Laws like that aren't always popular though. That's where the second option comes in. Putting a price on carbon emissions. Right now you can put as much carbon dioxide into the air as you like, without paying a dime. But what if people had to pay? Almost 20 countries around the world have adopted a carbon tax. Here's how it works. Companies pay a tax when they buy fossil fuels like coal or natural gas. The price is based on how much carbon is in the fuel. And then they try to pass those costs on to customers. That means with a carbon tax, the cost of raising Sally goes up. And ultimately, when it's time for Sally to go to the great chicken afterlife, it should be easier for consumers to pick Colin for dinner.
Okay. So the idea is we put a price on pollution where it enters the economy, and that cost trickles down for all of the places where those fossil fuels are used. So it ends up being paid by the consumer. at the end. Other businesses can keep passing their higher costs down if they're using fossil fuels. But of course, not all businesses are using fossil fuels. Some are using clean energy. And as the fee grows higher and higher, goods produced with fossil fuels become more expensive than goods produced with clean energy. So this shifts the whole equation of our whole economy to favor energy efficiency and clean energy. And this is how we unleash the investment and innovation and deployment of clean energy. Car manufacturers will see gasoline is going to get 15 cents more expensive each year. So they stop investing in the next gas and diesel engine technology. They understand it's a race to produce the best electric vehicle. And so consumers then, next time they buy a car, there will be more choice, and they will be more likely to buy an electric car because they see gasoline getting inexorably more expensive. It just does, it keeps, the variable price of gasoline sometimes gets people to buy small cars, and then when it drops back down to a low gas price, they buy big cars again. But this just keeps going up, and they know that, so they make more completely informed decisions when the cost of pollution is reflected in the price of things. Yeah, so it's economist gold standard solution, and so how do we create political will for it? CCL used to be laser focused on that policy, and we've had bills introduced in Congress to do this. Um, Now we're working on multiple policies and waiting for the right time. But the CFD movement is still laser focused on this at a high school and college level. So my dream is having hundreds or thousands of schools across the country putting up posters for the CFD movement, which, the poster says most effective climate policy, hashtag carbon fee and dividend, bit.ly/right Congress here. Um, yeah. So, it makes a nice sticker on a laptop cover or I don't know if you can see it, or a water bottle. And then you can have events to explain this is half the solution to global warming. Most people come out financially ahead, and experts say we'll fail to address climate change without a carbon price. So we have to do it somehow. This is just a nice way to do it. So tell your friends. And that link in the bottom is how to write Congress. And so how do you create political will? You talk about it, you tell Congress you want it, and you get more people to do the same. So if we can get hundreds of colleges and high schools across the country in on the CFD movement project, they're all connected through the leaders of the CFD movement. And we're hoping to have a lot of schools to make it worth trying to get funding to pay for pizza parties at every school that is showing on social media that they're actively engaged in CFD movement. So then maybe we could even make national attention, the most effective pizza party sometime next fall. So it's a possible pathway, and you can help us get there. Yeah. Yeah, so if you join the CFD movement, you can do that from the website. They'll put you on the map, and they have a Slack and email and ways to. There's a toolkit also for students or clubs that are interested in doing CFD movement at the school, just ideas on how to do it. So the CCL action team that we're in is how do we connect students and clubs at schools with the CFD movement? The CFD movement is doing the actual work, and we're just trying to make the connection. And the leaders of CCL like it because it's a two-way feeder system. We get schools engaged in CFD movement, and CFD movement sends students to CCL for training because, of course, there's a lot more than just putting up posters and stickers. You can meet with elected representatives and try to get endorsements. You can actually lobby your state or federal legislators, and CCL offers, of course, all of that as well. Okay, so the resources that I put into the agenda to do that second part, what this action team does, one is initiating contact with a school, and the next is running an inspirational meeting. And so connecting with a school, so you already are connected to a school, so you're ahead of the game as far as most of us. We have to do some Google research to try to find a club or a teacher advisor of a club, send an email to them to see if they are interested in hearing, seeing an En-ROADS climate policy simulation, which we use to show the power of carbon fee and dividend or carbon pricing in general. And then we show the economist statement and the carbon fee and dividend laser talk. And then we show some of the posters and stickers, and we say you can help your classmates learn about this policy and support it to make it possible for Congress to do it for us. So I don't know if anybody wants some time to actually do some Googling about a school near them to see if they can find a club. It's something that's,
Sorry.
yes, go ahead.
You mentioned on bringing someone in, like an economist into schools to talk about CFD.
Yeah.
How would you go upon that?
Okay, so if it's a college or university, there's probably economists that are professors at the school that you could just walk over to their office and say, hey, we want to do a teach-in about this statement, the economist statement on carbon dividends. Do you support this? You know, you can check to see if they're actually signed on to it already. They quite very well may be. If they're not, you could say, would you review this and put your name on it? You know, first of all, it would be good to get more economists on there. Even it's the largest public statement by economists, but more is better. And then say, I would like to, you know, help the students of the school or in my class understand the policy better. Could you come in and talk about it for 10 minutes? Um, you know, would you, or a teach-in, just like a extracurricular thing, not in a class, but just an event that could be advertised to the students of the school to um, to have someone explain it. And then you follow that expert's explanation of it up with, okay, we need to create the political for this. Here's the link, bit.ly/write Congress here. Take out your phones and we're all going to write our Congress members and tell them we want them to do this. And they probably won't do it if we just ask them once. So this is something that we're going to each do every couple months. Just put it in your calendar to remind yourself about going to that link. And it's a 15-second operation. If it remembers you from last time, you don't have to enter your contact information. It gives you a sample message that you can just send right away. So you really don't have to spend any time at all on it. But you can type in a couple sentences about your concern about climate change. And that means more to them if they get personalized messages. So yeah, and then then you could just use your creativity. There's that toolkit that I mentioned on the CFD Movement website has some ideas about activities and events and chalk art and kind of fun things just to get people together. But the end result, you want to kind of get them excited about carbon fee and dividend and hopefully write Congress while they're there. But there can be pizza involved. It can be just kind of a thing. Um, Colleges often have tabling for their clubs. So if there's a club that likes the environment or something like that, you can have some information about CFD at the club's table, and people can write Congress right then. Um, you can at a college sometimes you can put up hundreds of posters. So this is something you can blanket a campus with these posters. So they're kind of unavoidable. People don't really know anything more than the name of the policy for a while, but they see it a lot. And then you can offer an event to say, hey, have you heard about this policy? Come learn about it. That kind of thing. So for high school, you'd have to be a little more creative to find an economist, but there are economists all over the place. So you could certainly talk to your teacher and see if they could invite an economist in who would be willing to talk about that as part of a class. Um, you know, I think there's a lot of different classes that would be interested in teaching climate economics to students. Um, so,
Yeah, definitely. I also have another connection to a local college in my area, FGCU.
oh,
So I
great.
think Yeah. And I have contacts with alumni, and I know an environmental science or environmental group there that does volunteering. So I think they would be interested in that.
Excellent. Yeah. And if you go to that link at the bottom of that one pager economist statement, so you actually go to the source of that statement, there's the list of the 3,000, it's over 3,600 economists. So you could actually check out the college that you're thinking of to see if there's economists there that are on it, in which case maybe you could just reach out to them and say, hey, I see you're on the statement. Would you like to come talk to our class about it? I'm sure they'd be happy to.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Does the CFD movement, like this meeting is the action team for CCL, but do they have like meetings like that
Yes.
and that I could direct students to?
Yes, exactly. So our job as CCL people is to get students to hit that join button on the cfdmovement.org website. So let's see if I can. It's really weird trying to
I saw
find my.
that this week. I sent it to a couple of the students who signed up. I didn't get a response. I'm not sure.
Oh, great.
But do they if they join, will there be kind of calls like this one that
Yeah. Um, Yes, it's just its own standalone organization. The difference is there's no funding for it and it's student run. So my daughter and a friend of hers, Ellie Harmon at Bowdoin University, are co-presidents, and they have several teams, a strategy team and a finance team and a tech team that are also students. Um, and they have a monthly Zoom meeting, usually the first Sunday of the month at 7 p.m. on this Zoom line. They also have a Slack, which has information, channels and a way to communicate back and forth with all the students that are involved. And they send emails to all of the students that have connected by hitting the Get Involved button. Um, and entering, their contact information. So this doesn't go to CCL. This join goes to the CFD movement students. Um, and yes, they meet monthly and share ideas. They're active on Instagram. Oh, actually, that was one of the things that I had in my not March. Hmm. Oh, I know it's not there. Sorry, I'm just looking for our agenda. I'm having a hard time. Okay, here it is. Managing my windows tonight. Okay, so CFD movement connections is in our agenda. Yeah, so the website is kind of where the toolkit is for how you do this at a school. And how you join. The Instagram is here. So they have about 4,000 followers. And so that's something you can do. And they will recommend it when you join for your school. Also, if you're on Instagram, follow the Carbon Fee and Dividend Instagram account. Um, and they have a monthly meeting, which I guess I don't have in here. I should write that.
they would send out announcements to anybody who signed up about
Yes, yeah, when somebody joins, they send an email asking if they can meet to chat. It's like an onboarding process, and that's where they show them the Slack and the Instagram, help get them started, and then they have a monthly Zoom call for students who are trying to figure out what to do. Um, yeah, so they're trying to do a mini CCL basically, but they're students, so they have a lot of other things. But the Emily O'Keefe, who came up with this idea, created the whole website, and the infrastructure is there. Now it just needs to be used. So it's just a matter of getting as many schools added to the project as possible. Uh, and they're all doing the same thing. And if there's the more that are engaged, when they get together in their monthly meetings, they can share ideas and how things are going, and they can come up with new ideas and help it expand, over time. And the kind of hope is that, over the next year, we get hundreds of schools to join so that leading into the next election cycle, around September, October, a big media event where students across the country are calling for carbon fee and dividend. And then we can have discussions with candidates. Do you accept the scientific consensus that we have a climate pollution problem and that we need policies to uh, ensure a safe future for our children and these students and ourselves? And if you agree with that, then what are your plans? So, uh, just trying to kind of make carbon fee and dividend known by the general public, and then make sure that candidates are asked, hey, are you going to support this if it's um, offered, if you get elected?
A lot of a big percentage of the students who join, because we haven't had a lot of students join, are involved in a program within their school where they need to record the hours that they volunteer, and
Mm,
then the that is a program that if they get enough hours, they meet requirements for. I'm not sure what the whether it's whether they get a class credit or whether it's some, but they get acknowledged for that in some way. And
community service hours, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
and so
usually it's a graduation requirement, or in my case, it's a requirement for a scholarship.
okay, yeah. Um, and like we had a student who was pretty active a few years ago, and we really only logged like if we were tabling, she came and she brought her friends, and but thinking about it more, I said, if you come to the chapter meeting, that's volunteer, and that's an action. If
Yeah.
you take a training on CCL, that's an action, and it's
Hmm.
volunteering. And uh, and if you come to this meeting,
Yeah.
it should be logged that you spent an hour volunteering. So Siri, for you, I mean, if there's, but like, well, these students were going to try and take the introductory call on every Wednesday night. Siri CCL has it's a Zoom call where they do an introduction to CCL, kind of like what we've been doing, I guess. Um, and but I said, well, you should get credit for that. But then I went and looked in the action tracker. I couldn't find that, and they would be under my chapter. I couldn't find, so they might not have been able to attend because there was some confusion about the time zone. but but I'm saying what I want a way of logging everything they do so they can get credit for it. And then I told them you should go talk to your school administrator and make sure that this, doing this meets the requirements, whatever they have, because
So for that, in order for that to work, I know each school is different, but as long as you send them an email telling them how many hours they got, and then having an email for the school to contact to make sure that what they're saying is true, I think would be enough for them to log their hours. So for my school, there's an online platform in which we insert how many hours we did, what we were doing, and then a contact number or an email to account for like what we did. So like
Mhm.
to make sure that we actually did our volunteer work. And
Right.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
that should be enough.
my understanding too. Catherine, my daughter, helped me kind of set up this and the introductory emails. And one of the ideas she had was um, community service hours. And in her school, you just needed an adult who would kind of be um, the person that would stand up and say, yes, the student did these hours, and the school would accept that. So you need an adult to sponsor the student to be doing those things. So that could be a CCL volunteer. Pretty much any CCL volunteer could be that for a high school student, so that they could get credit for their CFD movement hours. Yeah, yeah, good. Okay, so let's see. I guess do people want to look for like search for a club at their school, or do you want to do that offline? Siri, you know what you're doing, I guess. Do you have a club in mind, Siri?
I'm actually the president of my school's green club, so I'd be
Oh,
just
that's
talking to myself.
convenient. Talk to
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah, what do you think? What are you gonna tell yourself?
I'm gonna tell myself that I need to look at the toolkit and get more educated.
Excellent. Yeah, and if you're into it, so just use that get involved button to put your contact information to go. That will connect you with the students that run it. And I didn't show you the other thing that's fun to see is that there's a map. Um, Under the about, there's a schools page, which is the map. So there's three different types of schools. There's ones that are just starting up, there's active schools, and then previously active schools, because every year something new happens. So you can put your school on this map. And when we're recruiting more students, you can show them, wouldn't it be nice to see your school on this map? And there's some pretty cool schools here. I think one of these is, yep, Harvard University. Um,
Mhm.
let's see, that's a new one, I think. Maine Orno? Is that just starting up? Yeah, just starting up. I haven't seen that one before.
William and Mary down there.
Yeah, is that it?
No,
No.
it's a little bit. I think it's closer to. Yeah,
Yeah, there it is.
I think that's.
Previously active. Yeah, and we're not. I'm not. I think they might be active, and we just don't know who's doing it. But yeah, if they're not, so going from school year to school year is a little bit of a challenge because if the students are seniors and they leave, and there's no handoff, then we kind of have to start from scratch. So it's good to show that it was active there anyway. And I don't know if there's any. Yeah, there's even one. Look at that. Norco College. Yeah, so it would be great to see stars, hundreds of stars on here. And we'll see if we can make that happen. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's kind of all I had. If people don't want to do the research, Googling live, um, I guess we can just finish up with any ideas about how we can get CCL engaged in helping us with this from a national perspective,
Yeah, well, I'm a Canadian, so um,
from an international perspective.
yeah,
Like,
we're so the CCL Canada, um, Catherine McKenna, the former environment minister, gave us a lot of credit. She was at our meeting last year or the year before, and she gave us a lot of credit for Canada bringing in the carbon fee and dividend, well, carbon tax with a rebate. Um, and so real disappointment when this spring the new prime minister scrapped it under pretty strong political pressure. I think there's a good chance he would have lost the election otherwise. There's just so many
Yeah.
lies being told about it. Yeah, we have a conference coming up next month in Ottawa, and I'm really hoping we're going to come up with a strategy to bring it back in a newer and better form. And
The carbon price was scrapped on gasoline, or transportation. Was it on everything like power plants as well? Or
yeah, well, the carbon tax they brought in, they call it a consumer carbon tax. So it's on things like gasoline, heating oil, uh, um, natural gas for heating your house. Um, but major industries like oil and gas and cement and steel making and major industries that use or produce a lot of carbon dioxide and then are exposed to competition from overseas were exempt, and they had a different, like a cap and trade, very complicated cap and trade system that nobody understands. Um, and yeah, and then the Canadian government made all kinds of mistakes. Like, yeah, they adopted the program, but they didn't really like it. If I think, or a lot of there was pretty strong opposition within the government. Um, and so yeah, they fumbled the ball. um,
Yeah, Catherine McKenna was in a couple great podcasts that I've listened to, uh, and I've put them all in a presentation called The Growing U.S. Carbon Price Gap. I
oh
just put
yeah,
a link in the chat with that.
mhm,
And so you can watch the 1 hour recording where I actually play some of the clips where she's describing what happened, both
mhm,
how she helped make it happen, and
mhm,
she said it was policy, attention to policy details, and attention to messaging. You need good policy and good messaging, and she was able to help get carbon fee and dividend implemented. And then
mhm.
she left for Columbia University and started working on international carbon pricing. And the Canadian government seems to have just stopped advertising to people that they were getting more money back. And
Yeah.
her messaging
Well,
was,
actually, they never did. They never did. It
yeah.
was, um, yeah, like
So she was saying
communication disaster. Yeah,
messaging is key.
yeah,
It should be no, we're going to make it no longer free to pollute, and you're getting more money back. And you
yeah,
need to keep telling people you're getting more money back.
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and she said they pursued other policies instead of making sure people understood that one, which
Mhm.
ceded the narrative to the fossil fuel industry, which came in hard with Axe the Tax and made people
Yeah.
feel like the big jump in fossil fuel prices in 2022 were because of the fee and dividend. Of course, they
Mhm.
were from the post-COVID ramp up, and Saudi Arabia didn't meet supply, and then the Russia embargo,
Yeah, yeah.
drove fossil fuel prices. But the fossil fuel industry marketing blamed the fee and dividend. 80% of Canadian families, I guess, were coming out ahead. Um,
Oh, yeah,
Keith, do you know? So there's no more dividend, is that correct? Because
yeah, yeah,
there's an industrial price, which is
yeah.
going to hit $135 per ton of CO2 in 2030,
Well,
US.
so they say.
170 Canadian.
Yeah, but
What do you
it's so
mean?
nobody understands how it
Oh,
works.
nobody knows what the price is
Yeah.
gonna. Uh-oh.
So,
Okay. Well, my graphic that I use is a clear, solid
mm,
green line for Canada hitting $135 per ton
okay. Well,
for the
let's hope.
industrial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Um, yeah. So lessons learned is what I got out of that whole Canadian experience.
mhm.
You can't stop creating political will for it even after it's been in place because and we might also want to revoke the permission of the fossil fuel industry to advertise because they're clearly a bad actor willing to lie and manipulate politics in the name of profit, and so sometimes you just have to take away their social license to participate. We did it to the tobacco industry in the
Yeah.
US.
Well,
We can.
you Americans used to have, no, what's it called? The Fair Treatment Act or Fair Treatment
Oh, the fairness doctrine got
Fairness
revoked,
Doctrine. Yeah,
which
and they're,
means that our media can lie one-sidedly. Now they don't have to
yeah,
be um,
They have to tell both
fact-based,
sides of the story.
tell
Yeah.
both sides, and
Yeah.
which one's more likely to be fact-based.
Yeah.
So yeah, we lost.
And yeah. So you guys, and Canada kind of followed your lead, and then when you guys scrapped it, then Canada kind of has followed the same thing. I think we're not as far down that path where everything, you go on Fox News and you're going to hear a story, and you go on CNN and you're going to hear the same story, but sounds entirely different. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
In my presentation, the 1 hour recording version of it, I explained carbon leakage, which is why you need the border adjustments. And then I
Yeah.
was explaining what happened in Canada, and I said, I guess that's media leakage. We had US media leaked over into Canada and got them confused about
Yeah.
carbon fee and dividend, just like our
Yeah.
fossil fuel industry tries to keep
Mhm.
doing to US citizens.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was really depressed when they ended when they axed the tax, but I'm feeling more and more optimistic. I mean, there isn't really any other way to do it, and so I'm confident it's going to come back and come back better than it was. But yeah, it's going
Yeah,
to take the
and
work.
Mark Carney, he knows economics. He is a
Oh
strong
yeah,
supporter of carbon pricing. The only
yeah,
reason he said he would axe the tax was because politically it's better to get elected and do what it takes to get elected and then get in there and do
yeah.
the right things. The
Mhm.
alternative was the Pierre guy who would not
Mhm.
have been good for,
Olivier, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
Canada or the US or the world.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Siri,
Uh,
have you ever heard of that fairness doctrine? Just curious about what's being
No,
taught
I
in the
Oh
haven't.
yeah,
schools.
well yeah, oh, you're talking to Siri, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Okay,
you
let's
should look it
Google it.
up. Yeah.
It, yeah, but they used to have to, networks had to say they were covering both sides of the story, or letting both sides talk, or if there were two sides.
Yeah.
It's kind of complicated, that, you know, I'm sure there were problems with that as well, but
Yeah, it
it's
was the
been gone for
FCC.
a long time, right?
FCC
Mhm.
policy required broadcast license holders to present controversial public issues in a way that was, in the FCC's judgment, both honest and balanced. The doctrine was repealed in 1987. Um, and one of the reasons it was repealed, I think, was because when cable TV came out, the FCC didn't control those broadcasts because it wasn't being broadcast over public airwaves. And there was an argument that it wasn't fair that broadcasters had to follow the fairness doctrine, where cable channels didn't have to follow the fairness doctrine. They went the wrong way, of course. They should have said, if you're communicating to the general public, and you're saying your news, you have to follow the same rules. But they went the
Mhm.
other way, which is how Fox News, and the others, really just, so nobody knows what to believe anymore, unfortunately. And I think media, um, you know, awareness of media understanding and training should be taught in schools, because if you can't evaluate what's true and what's not, then you end up voting against your best interests, and we get our democracy in jeopardy. But that's a different topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Interesting meeting tonight. Not exactly what I expected, but I hope you all got something out of it. Um, so this is this is the year to try to get schools engaged in it so that next year we can have a big impact. So if you know anybody else in other schools, send them over to see if they want to put their school on the map. And the rest of us, yeah, let's try to reach out to some schools. I think you could do this in Canada. It would be neat to make this an international effort. The students would be pretty happy about that, I guess.
If I were to contact other schools about this, is there a link for me to provide to other schools in the toolkit?
I think just CFD movement.
Okay.
Um, you can say this is the project, and then there's the tabling supplies has PDFs. So if you wanted to say, here's the policy or here's the toolkit, you can download the toolkit also. It's a PDF. So those can be sent. There are email templates that we have. I put in the agenda. Let me just see. I'm never going to be able to find my. Okay, here it is. Initiating contact with a school. Yeah. And planning inspirational meetings. So that first one just has a couple template emails that we offered as suggestions to reach out to a school. Basically, the I think the most productive way to do this is to reach out to a club. If you can reach the club, because this is a project that can be incorporated into an existing club, and that's the easiest way to have it just able to start working. Trying to, we've done it, creating a club to do this, and it's just a lot of overhead um, and that is there's enough there to make it a whole club, but it's also a lot of more work with the overhead of doing the whole club thing. Um, so an existing club is good. And yeah, so initiating contact with the school, that would be the the, the teacher who's helping guide the club, or the president of the club, or a member of the club that could bring it to the club and present it. And then planning inspirational meetings, that just has some suggestions for like how to lead people through the En-ROADS climate policy simulator showing carbon pricing is so powerful. And then there's the carbon pricing explained with chicken video. There's the 2-minute video, the CCL video that talks about, okay, we need to price carbon. Here's how we create political will to enable our elected leaders to do a policy to do this. And then the final thing is, okay, here's the CFD movement. This is how we educate people that there's a policy that's going to be good for them. They're going to like it if they learn a little bit about it, and they can support it by writing Congress with this link. So hopefully, I think the materials are there. If you need any help, you can message me on community, or I'm jhgage@gmail.com. I'm happy to answer questions, or you can simply join the CFD movement and then ask and email, the presidents, or on Slack. They're good at this stuff.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Stephen, Keith, and Siri. Really great to see you all again and meet you. And yeah, thanks for all you do.
Thanks, John.
Yep. Thank you,
Take
John.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.